Welcome to the channel and welcome to this review of the new Codex Thousand Suns, which Games Workshop have very kindly sent me free of charge to review. So, this is the first one of these reviews I have done, so just to tell you before we start, this is not going to be a clipped, compact, how have all the rules changed and what are all the stratagems. This is going to be much more rambling. It's going to be about what the book offers narratively, how it enables you to construct what I would call narrative lists, and what I like and what I don't about the direction they've taken things. As I will also touch on the units, the stratagems, all that good stuff, but it's not going to be a focused matched play thing. It's going to be much more of a ramble. Those of you who are familiar with the style of things I do, who've seen my live streams, it's going to be kind of like that, but I'm going to be going through a book. So if you want something much more focused, I am certain that at the point this video goes live, there are going to be loads of other people doing this who will have much more specific how-to and what are the combinations and all that good stuff. So if that's what you're after, they are probably a better bet. Okay, so I'm going to start at the front of the book, flick through it, and talk about what I'm seeing on the various pages, and what I infer from it. So, I mean, the first section is an overview of Magnus the Red, and how he came to be, and the burning of Prospero, and so on. There's a couple of little interesting things on here that I just want to tell you about, but in order to do that, I've got to just find another page as well. Alright, okay. You'll like this. Magnus's power is such that he could obliterate legions of foes with a word of his baleful glare. The warp-saturated blade he wields can take any form he wills, and with a single blow can sunder a fortress gate or mighty war engine. Damage 3. Magnus' rune-etched armour is proof against even the most powerful attacks, be they physical or spiritual. 3-up save. Yeah, sorry. Nice. I read that and I thought, ah! No! So, Burning of Prospero. There's a section, some lovely art on here. I don't think I can turn the book around to show you, but there's a lovely image of Ahriman and crackly lightning and so on. It's fairly standard stuff. If you're already familiar with Ahriman, it talks about when they come to Satarius and Magnus disappears off to try and to be all broody and determine lots of secrets and stuff. Then Ahriman casts the rubric, and Magnus isn't happy. Nice little vignette about how he's focusing on the secrets of the Eldari, and he's perhaps not just looking at going after the Black Library now, but he's also after the Ynnari. There's a very nice bit in, I think it's the Fall of Baal-Tan, when Yvrain of the Ynnari resurrects some of the rubric marines. And so yeah, it says in here, Ahriman is all about finding out what's up with that and whether he can use that for his goals. Yeah, rubric of Ahriman. Yeah, some more detail about why he performed it, what the repercussions were. Banishment. Yeah, Magnus wasn't allowed to slay Ahriman. You see, this is all probably in books that I haven't read yet, but Magnus not allowed to slay Ahriman because that was not the will of Tzeentch. Instead, he was banished. There was a thing on here. Which I can't find. He's got to basically go and learn a whole load about the nature of Tzeentch and magic before Magnus will be his friend again. There's a nice thing about the spawn pit. It's one of those little vignettes in the bottom. Deep within the crackling, ever-shifting crystal waste of the planet of sorcerers lies the spawn pit. So this place is where they anything, they throw all the mutations at anyone who's mutated. Sorcerers, Marines, Cultists, whatever. And then when they start to, when they go to battle, they conjure silver cages around them and lift them up. And then, yeah, sort of herd them onto the battlefield. That's quite nice. There's some stuff. Obviously, there's a big bit about the rubricae. Nice little bit. It talks about how that they're sealed in their armor and they have no real sentience. There's a nice bit where it talks about how when they're instructed into battle, their sort of Astartes-ness springs back into life and they're every bit the legionaries that they once were. And then when that order has been fulfilled, they slump back into unmoving sentience, which is nice. There's a nice bit about talking about how they utilize that lifeless state, and as I think about there was a particular attack on an Imperial, I think, is it a dockyard? Yeah, void docks. They concealed a load of Rubric Marines in an airless wreck of a bulk hauler and just let it drift into the Imperial lines. And when someone eventually went, "What is this?" they all wake up and start killing them. Nice. Yeah, there's a nice bit here about how they bulk out what they refer to as their thrall bands. Numerous expendable troops, slaves, servants, the human worshipping cultists. There's a nice bit about... Well, it mentions Zangors very, very briefly. It just basically says they are like a savage melding of human, avian, and savage beast. Yeah, I would have liked it. I haven't seen anything in here that tells you what the Zangor are, what they come from, what's their motivation in life, and all that stuff. Yeah, I'd have liked a bit more of that. There's also a nice bit here about war engines and demon engines. It says, many of the Legion's back attacks still survive, and many have gone through mutations and so on, manifestations of Tzeentch and so on. Then it talks about predatory demon engines, manifestations of Tzeentch's will bound into the brazen shells of the Lemu's demon engines, built by warp smiths, which you can't take in the Thousand Suns list, skilled in the infernal arts, whose services to the Thousand Suns have either been bartered or secured by force, trickery, or hypnotic compulsion. So a nice little bit here about they can't actually make these demon engines themselves. They have to coerce, or force someone else to do it, which I quite like. And also, they're not above stealing assets from renegade warbands or securing allegiances, which are always temporary and invariably end badly for the sorcerer's unfortunate allies, which is nice. Now, this is where it starts to get a little bit juicy. So there's another section about the ruling cabals, and it talks about, obviously, Magnus the Red, top guy. Below Magnus are his most powerful lieutenants, known as the Rahati, the Magisti Templi, who rule over the Legion's 9 cults. And then it starts to go into how what Magnus will never allow I think I've missed a bit, and I can just hear, for some reason, my Amazon Alexa in the background has just... One moment. Alexa, stop. Just whatever you're doing, stop. How it was triggered in another room by talking about Thousand Suns, but not the one that's right there, I have no idea. Anyway. Well, I think I have skipped a step, I think. There's a nice little bit about how they make new Thousand Suns. And basically, if they've got the suit of armour of a rubric marine, they can summon the marine back into the armor, is basically the gist. But it does talk about them making new sorcerers by taking the progenoid gland of a deceased sorcerer and putting it into effectively an aspirant psyker and turning it into a Thousand Suns sorcerer. So it's not impossible, but for this reason, that because the resources of the Legion are so teeny tiny small, Magnus just entirely outlaws these guys fighting amongst themselves. But then in the ruling Cabal section, it goes on a little bit about how they do influence and interfere with each other, how direct conflict isn't allowed, but manipulation and scheming is, and it's pretty cool. So it talks about how the 9 Rahati are always vying for dominance with Magnus, and then it talks about the where is it? It talks about how the sort of the structure is then substrated back down into another sort of tranche of 9. I can't see the word. Chapters would be the wrong word. Right, coven. So yeah, within each great cult, a coven of 9 champions leads the cult and directs their efforts in real space. So not only are the Rahati all vying with each other for Magnus's attention, the leaders of the members of the coven of 9 in each cult. I hope I'm getting this right. Yeah. Just as a legion is itself divided into 9 great cults, so a coven of 9 such champions leads each of these cults and directs its efforts in real space. So you've got sort of 9 champions then vying for dominance within that particular cult and doing all the same stuff to each other. And then it talks about you've got sort of strata underneath that within each coven. You've got individual sort of sorcerers, aspiring sorcerers vying for dominance to try and sort of break into that ruling council. So you've got sort of layers of manipulation and dominance. I know this is probably stuff that Stylus from Deployment Zone, who has a really cool Thousand Suns army, he has spreadsheets that keeps track of everyone's success and failures and how an individual's dominance rises, waxes and wanes, which is really cool. Now there's an interesting thing here where it says about the Sekhmet. So these were the formerly Magnus's own bodyguards. These elite Thousand Suns warriors fought in stylized Terminator armor and wielded the ceremonial power blades based on the ancient prospering Kopesh. Now it doesn't say anywhere that the Scarab Occult Terminators are these Sekhmet, but I think it heavily implies they are, because they've got the same, if you look at the profile, they've got the same weapons, or the weapons are described in the same way. And then it goes on about how any sort of powerful sorcerer, Infernal Master, or Demon Prince, are sufficiently powerful, can command them, which is cool. Then there's another nice bit down here, below the ranks of champions, bands of Rubricae, herds of Zangor, and servile chaos cults fill the ranks alongside the enthralled renegade space marine warbands, Magisti of the Dark Mechanicum. They're talking about 2 things there that I would dearly like Games Workshop to do: Dark Mechanicus and basically Traitor Guard, Imperial cults, chaos cults. So you've got sort of layers of hierarchy with sort of Magnus, then Rahati, then Coven of 9, then Sorcerers and Aspiring Sorcerers, then Zangors and Cultists. And yeah, it's really cool. I really like this. There's then a big section about the... I'll say a big section. It's like 2 pages. I can't actually show you it. Big section about the Great Cults. I think I can read this bit out though. The 9 great cults. Cult of Change. This cult is the anathema to order. They are the great unravelers, launching their armies wherever civilization and reason exist. Similarly, in places of utter anarchy, the cult appear to impose unnatural stasis. Cult of Duplicity. The sorcerers of this cult are deceivers all. At once fractured and unified in purpose. It's impossible to know whether sects within the cult are acting in concert with or against one another's terrifying plans. Da, da, da. Cult of Prophecy. The cult is guided by incessant whispers that bleed from the warp. From these they divine the outcomes of multiple futures and seek out events that can be twisted to their own purposes. Cult of Manipulation. Deceptive in the extreme, this cult uses its tendrilar web of influence to sway the actions of its enemies. Vast networks of mortal and demonic spies allow the cult to oversee the plots as they unfold through assassination, possession, and the sublimation of the enemy's wills. Cult of Time. This cult view past, present, and future as a flowing resource to be shaped into a weapon. Oh yes. Their efforts send ripples both forwards and backwards in time, with sanity-blasting implications for the enemy's present. There's a nice story a little later on when this person who's trying to achieve a thing makes a pact with the Cult of Time, who hurl this planet backwards in time, back in their timeline 10 years, which unfounds the regiments of Imperial Guard that were founded during that period, which makes them just blink out of existence on this other world. And these other first ones go, lovely, no one's guarding that now. Let's have them. Yeah, that's very cool. Cult of Magic. They employ pure, unfettered sorcery. They value the acquisition of all manner of sorcerous arcana, the better to lend even greater might to their rituals. The Cult of Mutation. This cult embraces the warping of reality itself. By their hands, foes are reduced to mounds of mutating flesh, and the worlds transmogrified into demonic hellscapes. I wish I could do a table with a demonic hellscape. I'd love to be able to, do that on a table. They're here. We have a demonic hellscape. Sort of mutated rocks and spirally swirling energy things, and that'd be so cool. One day, maybe one day. The Cult of Scheming. This insidious cult creates convoluted plots as a form of worship. Every victory and apparent defeat is another cunningly placed step upon a road that only they can see. The Cult of Knowledge. This cult believes that all lore, no matter how esoteric or malign, to be theirs for the seizing. Their vast wisdom allows them to predict their foes' every weakness. Yeah, really cool, really cool. There's a couple of pages on Satarius, the planet of the Sorcerers. There's a bit here about a lot of it's stuff you would expect. It talks about the planet itself, what it's like as a weapon, how they mobilise for war. There's a nice bit about the warped wilds beyond the bounds of Tisca, which is the old Thousand Sons capital from Prospero, which was transported to Satarius when they all legged it there. But it talks about how the Zangor herds scratch in existence, preying on one another and on mewling chaos spawn that hunt the wilds, and avoiding the enormous mutilated vortex beasts that are the apex predators of these wilds. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. And there's a thing about the Fall of Ultimus, which is that story I was just referring to. There's then about 6 pages. There's not one per cult, but there's a short story, sort of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 7 paragraphs per cult. They're based on a character in a cult. So this one is Tanis Vor from the Cult of Time, Astaras the Inconsistent, Exalted Sorcerer of the Cult of Mutation. And these are kind of cool. They're little bits of sort of fluffing out the narrative, which I think is really cool. But what is very interesting is the guys pictured all have different painted armor schemes. This one's sort of traditional turquoise. Shut up, you. This one here is white and gold. This one here is a sort of off blue. This one here is red. And they're all fun little stories. I quite like this one. The Coven of Three, the Sorcerers of the Cult of Scheming. They're all shown. There's 3 of them, and they're all shown with 3 eyes and 3 arms, which is kind of cool. But what it doesn't do is give any kind of connection between it. It's then in the pictures of the models, the actual photos. It's got different rubric marines with different colour schemes. Rubric marines of the Thralls of Magnus, rubric marine of the Crimson Suns, rubric marine of the Hermetic Blades. It doesn't talk about the correlation of these warband names and the cults. And I can't see anywhere where it says if the various different cults and colour schemes are in any way aligned. So this guy here, where's he gone? Tvar, the Prince of Liars, the Sorcerer of the Cult of Duplicity. He's shown in red armour. I can't see anything that implies that red is the colour of the Cult of Duplicity. I imagine they would lean away from that because of not wanting to give people as much flexibility in their armies as possible. Yeah, I can't see anything in here that directs or implies that. There are some very nice pictures. There's a really nice one with against the Space Wolves on, I think it's meant to be Fenris. Nice snowscape. That's cool. Okay, now we head into the rule section. So I've prattled about the narrative. Obviously, I will still be doing narrative stuff. There's match play stuff. There's conquest stuff. Sorry, crusade, not conquest. You'll find much better reviews of that elsewhere, so I'm not even going to try because neither of those are my thing. Detachment abilities. Okay, so this is where, well, this all starts to get really cool. I'll be quite honest. I think there's a lot in here I like. So, as you might expect, if you've seen the Death Guard Codex, there's a rule in here called mere servants, which means you can't have more cultists than you've got rubric marines, and you can't have more Zangors than you've got cultist marines. So, the example it gives is if you've got 2 rubric marines and 1 Scaraboccle Terminator, you can include up to 3,000 Sun cultist units and up to 3 Bray units. Bray is how they differentiate between all Zangor and the troops' choice, the Zangor. They're happy for you to take as many Zangor Shamans or Zangor Enlightened as you want to, but they don't want you to take... They want you to have some rubric marines in your army. Not unreasonable. But, you know, many of us do this anyway. Jealous Tyrant. You can't put more than 1 Demon Prince in each detachment. Brotherhood of Sorcerers. This is quite nice. So this now applies to most units, I think. Do you actually have to have this on your data sheet? I wonder. Oh, it's a lot further on. Brotherhood of Sorcerers. Come on. Arch Sorcerer. Bear with me, caller. Brotherhood of Sorcerers. Is this a generic ability? Oh no, okay. 1,000 Suns units and 1,000 Suns detachments gain the Brotherhood of Sorceress ability, so they all get this. Everyone gets this. Add 1 to psychic tests taken for the unit, so all your psychers are going to get +1. Nice. And if the unit is an Arcana Astartes, so a Rubric Marine or a Scaraboccle Terminator, or one of the characters, or a Zangor unit, they have a 5+ vulnerable save. So that's nice. The Zangor, I look at the Zangor and I think, well, these are meant to be made of magic. Why have they not got a vulnerable save? Turned out they did. Because you know what I did? I started at the back of the book and worked forward. I don't know why I did that. I just did. Yes, so I mentioned mere servants and jealous tyrants. Now these I like. There is a thing here called Legion Command, which is the bit you've seen. We've seen him in all the new books, where you can pay a bit of extra power or some extra points and give a character an ability. But these are, you can give them to different levels of characters. There's a sort of list of what you can give a character. So, for example, this one here, you can only give this one to an Exalted Sorcerer, and the ability is called Rahati. So they're one of the guys that lead the individual cults. So your model could be a Rahati, and it could attempt to manifest an additional psychic power. Or all the way down to stuff at the bottom, you can give these to aspiring sorcerers or Scarab Occult Sorcerers, so your unit champions. This one here, Ardent Automata. If this unit is performing an action, this model can shoot without that action failing. Okay, it's not exactly something I would use because I don't use actions that much. But there's a bunch down here that you can give to the unit champions. Rites of Coalescence. You can pick a model in your unit and heal its wounds. Protégé knows an additional psychic power. Then you've got ones that can go to sorcerers. Loyal Thrall can attempt to perform psychic actions instead of one psychic power rather than of all psychic powers. Now, there are actually elsewhere in this book psychic actions that don't relate to mission objectives, so actually that's more useful. It is potentially useful even if you're not playing match play, because there are more psychic actions in here. Witch Warrior. Each time you manifest Smite, you can re-roll the dice for the number of wounds affected. Battle Psyker. Change the weapon skill and ballistic skill to 2+ and attack characteristic to 5. These are on sorcerers. Then on Exalted Sorcerers, Paradigm of Change. Add 1 to wound and attacks. Delante. Given a... Oh, I hadn't read this one. This one can be given 1 additional relic. Oh, you can give someone 2 relics for that. Woo! I can see that being stingy. Okay, then you've got a section on each of the cults. It's the usual stuff. All the models in your detachment have to come from the same cult, as you might expect. And these are all pretty similar to what was in the... wasn't the War of the Spider book, it was the other one. I know, because I've got it on the table downstairs. Legion of the Damned. Legion of the Damned? Ritual of the Damned. The Ritual of the Damned Psychic Awakening books. These are all pretty similar. You get the psychic power in addition to ones that you've already got. So, very briefly go through them. Court of Mutation. Warp Reality. That's cast on a terrain feature and enemy units nearby get slowed down, movement and stuff. The Warlord trait does mortal wounds in close combat. The Relic adds to strength, toughness and attacks. Nice. Or mutated and tentacly and stuff. It's Court of Mutation. Court of Prophecy. Divining the Future. Roll a d6 and send it to one side. This is the psychic power. Until the start of your next psychic phase, you can use that roll to replace a single dice roll for a hit, wound, advance roll. So a little bit like Sisters of Battle of Faith dice. It gives you a dice and you can go, I don't want that to be a 4. What have I got over here? Oh, I've got a 5. Hey, ding. Done. Guided by Whispers. This is the Warlord trait. After being the target of a charge, before the charge roll has been made, it can make a normal move up to 6 inches. So Prophecy. Oh yeah, I knew you were going to do that, so I've moved, mate. Nice. The Relic. What's this one? The Oculi Brazier. Oh, this is some re-rolls. You pick a unit and then they get like 1 re-roll to hit, 1 re-roll to wound, etc. Cult of Time. The psychic power heals units. The Warlord trait. What does this do? Oh, if you roll a 9+ to cast a psychic power, you get to cast another one for free. That's nice. This one I really like. The Cult of Time. The Relic. The Hourglass of Manat. First time the barrier is destroyed, keep him to one side and set him up again at the end of the current phase, within 1 inch of where he was, with D3 wounds remaining. It's like, oh, you didn't kill me, I wasn't there. Yeah. Cult of Scheming. So you cast this one on a friendly unit, it can fall back and shoot and charge. Grand Schemer. Units within 3 inches of your warlord gain obsec. Charquithel's Requiem, which is the my pronunciation is impeccable, I'm sure. That's the relic. That basically lets you cast stratagem for free, from what I can see. Cult of Magic. Astral Blast psychic power is like a smite that does splash damage to nearby units. Devastating Sorcery. It's the warlord trait. Once for battle, you can reroll a psychic test for a witchfire or a smite. Arcane Focus. This is the relic. At the start of your psychic phase, units can use a Kabbalistic Ritual. It costs 1 fewer Cabal points. We will get to that in a bit. They are nice. They are nice. Cult of Knowledge. Empiric Trespass. You cast it on an enemy unit, you get to reroll wound rolls of 1. Ancient Scholar is the warlord trait. You can reroll dice rolls of 1 for psychic tests. Relic. In Caladrian's Cry is a pistol. Cult of Change is a malediction spell, -1 attack and leadership, which is nice. Fickle Nature warlord trait. Can reroll charge rolls made for this warlord, eligible to shoot and charge in a turn in which it fell back. And the relic, Capricious Crest. Once per battle, you can change... Oh yeah, I did like this one. This is very nice. This is very nice. Very Cult of Changey. If there's a psychic test happening within 18 inches of you, once per battle round, if it's a friendly psychic test, you can change 1s to 6s. If it's an enemy psychic test, you can change 6s to 1s on the dice roll. Very nice. Very cool. Cult of Duplicity. Sorcerer's Facade. This is put a unit into Deep Strike, basically. Take a unit from within 6 inches of the Sorcerer and then Deep Strike it back in. Master Misinformer Warlord trait. This is you can redeploy units to start the battlefield, start the battle. Then the Perfidious Tome is a command point generating thingy, but it can give your opponent ones back as well as them to you, which obviously hashtag risky. Cult of Manipulation. The spell, the psychic power is a debuff that affects enemy psychics, makes it harder to cast psychic powers. Beguiling Influence warlord trait. Each time an attack is made against this warlord, the hit roll, wound roll, and damage roll cannot be re-rolled. That's nice. That's nice. Sochrith's Mirror. This is the relic. Oh yeah, the manipulation and then some. Instead of fighting, you select an enemy infantry model with a leadership characteristic of 9 or less that's within engagement range. So no roll, no beating your leadership or anything. Pick a model. I wish my phone had shut up. Maybe I should have put it on silent. The selected model then becomes yours for the fight phase. That's with. I was trying to work out the range. That's why I was hesitating. That's within engagement range of it. So basically, you hold the mirror up to his face and you go, oh! And then you control him. Your mind, hit that guy. That is very cool. Okay, now we're on stratagems. Alright, there's 4 pages of them. I'm not going to go through them all in excruciating detail. But But let's go through them. So, Fated Mutation is a buff to Chaos Spawn. Ensorcelled Infusion improves the armor pen of Friendly Thousand Suns. Better armor pen from Shooty Bang Bang. Unwavering Phalanx. This one's very nice. You use this on Rubric Marines or Scarab Occult Terminators, and you subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of any of incoming attacks, which is mega. Especially because Rubric Marines are now 2 wounds, as you would expect them to be. 3 CP though if the unit's 5 or more, so it's expensive, but nice. That could be, you know, critically battle changing. The Unwavering Phalanx. Masters 1, the sheer unnatural resilience of the Thousand Suns foot soldiers is magnified to a terrifying degree. One moment. Sorry, I'm doing this all as one take. So, if you're used to, I don't do editing. I just let the verbiage flow. Wrath of the Wronged. That is Veterans of the Long War. Infernal Fusillade, making extra shots with bolt weapons. Inhuman Savagery. This is a Zangor buffing unit to reroll hits. Buffing strategy. Vengeance for Prospero. Hitty Space Wolfie better. Great Sorcerer. Lets a sorcerer cast another spell. Malignant Pact. If your Infernal Master is unsuccessful at making a pact, select an infantry unit within 6 inches and it suffers a mortal wound. So it's trying to do. This guy's trying to do, and we'll come on to him in a minute. This guy's trying to do a deal with the demon, and he goes, "Nah, mate, I'm not having it." He goes, "Well, how about his soul? You can have Bob's soul as well." He goes, "Okay, yeah, deal." Sorry, Bob. Can't save everyone. Warped Regeneration. That's healing. Thousand Suns units. Unholy Sorceress. That's the old Chaos Familiar. So you can swap psychic powers out. Biomechanical Mutation. That is armor of thingy. Let a vehicle shrug mortal wounds at a 5. Oh, sorry, my screen just went blank. Panicking. Still recording. Good. Whew. Metaphysical Focus is attempt to cast another psychic power. How is that different to the other one that's cast another psychic power? Oh, this is after performing a psychic action, you can attempt to perform a psychic power. Psychic Domination. Oh, I like this one. I really like this one. So when you're attempting to deny the witch, so long as the unit is within 6 inches of another friendly Thousand Suns Psyker, you can roll an additional dice when denying the witch. That's lovely. That's 1 CP. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do. Having read this, looking forward to seeing what they do with the Eldar Codex. To see how similar but yet different that is. A Malevolent Machine Spirit. That's Power of the Machine Spirit. So pick a vehicle and it uses its top row. There's one for don't take a Perils of the Warp if you've taken a Perils of the Warp. Sorceress Might. There's specifically if you're using a Force stave, you can do more damage. Okay. Then there's the take a Warlord trait, take an extra relic. Sergeants can take a relic. There's those, they're fairly standard these days. Schemes of Change. This is quite interesting for those of you who use them. After you've declared your secondary objectives or agendas to your opponent, you can spend a command point and change them. That's nice. That's nice. That's a nice little narrative nugget in match play. Risen Rubrique. This is where you're burying your this is where you're putting your Rubric Marines in a spaceship and just letting them float past everyone. A plan decades in the making comes to fruition as hidden silent Rubricae emerge at a fateful hour to deliver the killing blow. It's infiltrate. Webway infiltration. Interestingly, compared to previous editions where it was 1 CP for 1 unit and 3 CP for 2, it's now 2 CP for 1 unit and 3 CP for 2, so that's deep strike basically. Implacable Guard. This is quite a nice one. This is use a character that's within 3 inches of a Rubric Marine unit can't be shot at. So if the unit's lower than 5, so it would be targetable if the character's below, or if they were nearer to their opponent, you can still use this to be non-targetable, which is quite nice. Then there's the Coruscating Beam, which is meant to come from the Silver Tower, but is about as effective as a crack grenade. Vector Strike, this is quite nice. So a Helldrake, we'll come on to the Helldrake in a bit. If a Helldrake flies across a unit, they can sort of swoop down and do mortal wounds as they go across. It's kind of nice. Inescapable Forewarning. This is where if you've got a Psyker near a unit, near a shooter unit, and someone tries to deep strike in nearby, they can shooty. Selfless Automata. This one was in there in the Psychic Awakening book. This is for a couple of command points. If you get charged, then I mean there's a lot of verbiage to go with this, but you can get a nearby unit of Rubric Marines or Terminators to heroically intervene. But they heroically intervene 2d6, so you can basically get them to bang, slam into a unit that's about to charge you. So they don't, which is nice. Imperial Reservoir, I like this. There's a couple of here that are related to Mutalith Vortex Beast, which I quite like. Imperial Reservoir. If you're within 6 inches from Mutalith Vortex Beast, the model generates D3 additional Cabal points. We'll come on to Cabal points in a bit. Slow and purposeful, because counts as having remained stationary. Etheric Saturation. The Sorcerer absorbs the chaotic energies flowing thickly around the Mutalith Vortex Beast, healing injuries that it sustained. So, instead of manifesting a psychic power, if you're near a Mutalith Vortex Beast, you can regain wounds for a CP. Soul Reap. This is nice. Soul Reaper counters. If you're shooting at a large unit, you can roll 2 hits instead of 1. Warp Flame Gargoyles. Yeah, mortal wounds in combat against your vehicles. Smokescreen. Malefic Scroll. Smite inflicts a flat 3 wounds with this command point. No D3 or D6, just 3. Nice. Warlord traits. What have we got? There's a couple of nice ones here. Lord of Forbidden Lore. They know all the psychic powers they have access to. Arrogance of Eons. Reroll deny the witch tests, and you can benefit from 1 more Kabbalistic Ritual in your psychic phases. Are you interested in what these Kabbalistic Rituals are yet? Some of these are fairly standard. Now, Infernal Pacts. Okay, Infernal Pacts. So you'll have seen, or you may have seen, the Infernal Master model that GW are releasing. This is basically a guy who makes direct pact with demons on the battlefield to do specific stuff. It's kind of halfway between a Dark Apostle and a Sorcerer. It is the character is a Psyker, but these are the Infernal Pacts that it can create. It's like a it's like an apostle in that it's roll a d3, a roll a d6, and on a 3+ it works. But because they're not psychic powers, they can't be denied. Yeah, there's some interesting ones. Capering Imps. Pick one enemy unit within 24 inches. To the start of the next phase, the unit cannot receive the benefit to cover and cannot fire Overwatch, cannot send to defend. So basically, he creates a pact with these little imps who just scrabble all over this enemy unit. And they go, "What? Get off!" And they're far too distracted to be able to Overwatch or anything, which is nice. There's one here that does mortal wounds. There's one that gives you more Cabal points. There's one that does another one that does mortal wounds. There's like a buffing one that adds strength to ranged attacks. So nice if you're firing at high toughness things like Death Guard. Who are the servants of Tzeentch's enemy. So yeah, they're pretty cool. Now, relics. These are all... I haven't seen anything on here that's jumped out at me as this is really different or this is really nice. They're fairly standard. Like Convening Plate. Bearer has a 2+ save. And then in the fight phase, an enemy model can only allocate up to half their attacks against him. Okay. Each time the bearer successfully manifests a blessing psychic power, Prism of Echoes, double the range of that power's effects. There's lots of nice little thingy ones, but I'm not going to go through them all individually. Psychic powers. They have now gone to 2 decks of 9 powers, 9 being Tzeentch's number, which I really like. So there's 9 psychic powers. So if you've taken that Lord of Law and you've got access to these, you've got 18 psychic powers to choose from. Right, the Discipline of Vengeance. And the Discipline of Change, the Discipline of Vengeance. The Discipline of Vengeance is basically the Chaos Space Marine deck with a few extras and a few names changed. So Gaze of Hate is Gaze of Chaos. Twist of Fate is Death Hex. Dark Blessing is Boon of Mutation, except without the Chaos Spawn effect. Presage is Prescience. Swelled by the Warp is Demonic Strength. Temporal Surge is Warp Time. Then the newer ones, Empiric Guidance adds 6 inches to rapid fire and heavy weapon range, which could be nice, which could be very nice. I guess that you could use that to get your double tap range for your bolters, or to reach out without having moved. If you want to hit someone in the opposite deployment zone, you remain stationary and get your 2 shots by using that. That's nice. Psychic Stalk. What was this? Oh, this is roll over your leadership and do mortal wounds. It's roll... Select one enemy unit. Roll 2d6. If it's greater than the unmodified leadership characteristic, one model in that unit is slain. Oh, okay, so... if you've got a unit of massively expensive models like Custodes, that can be very handy because it's just, dead. Desecration of Worlds. This is really nice. You select an enemy unit within 2 foot, and then every time they move, advance, fall back, or make a charge roll, roll a dice for each model in the unit, and the result of a 6, it suffers 1 mortal wound. The worlds of the galaxy shall tremble and shatter beneath the dolorous tread of the heretic Astartes, starting with this one. The Psyker pours their rage and contempt into the bedrock of the battlefield, tainting it with their warpcraft, even as they shatter it apart. Ah, that's nice and malevolent. Super fun times. And the Discipline of Change. Some of these are pretty similar. Tzeentch's Firestorm is as it was. Roll 9d6 for every 6, take a mortal wound. If you rolled 9 on the psychic test, it's a mortal wound of 5 or 6, which is nice. Now, there's lots of things in this book that can add to your psychic test results. So that's potentially pretty nasty. Glamour of Siege is a buff that's -1 to hit. Doombolt is just a flat 3 mortal wound smite. Temporal Manipulation is a Healy one. Weaver of Fates, you can give a unit a 4+ invulnerable save. Baleful Devolution. It's a warp charge cast. Warp charge value of 8 or more. Select one enemy unit within 18 inches. Roll a number of dice equal to the result of the psychic tests, which must be at least 8. And again, there's things in here to make you get it higher. For each 6 roll, the enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Oh! Cacodemonic Curse. Subtract 1 from strength characteristics of raised weapons. It's a curse. Pyrrhic Flux is a blessing. Add 1 to strength of warp flamers, warp pistols, and heavy warp flamers. And Perplex. This is a nice one. I like this. Warp charge 7, 2-foot range. Until the start of your next, it's a malediction. You cast an enemy unit, and they're so confused they can't target anything more than 2 foot away. So if you get within 2 foot of it, you can then stop it from targeting anything that's 2 feet away from it. So reduces the influence on the battlefield, especially if you've got lots of long range units that are doing lots of long range shooty bang that you don't want. Yes, there's some versatility in there. There are lots that are worth taking, and for a psychic army, you'd expect that. Right, Crusade rules. If you want to know about those, Elsewhere is a much better bet, because that's all I'm saying about them. Malicious Volleys is the same as you'd expect. Teleport Strike. Sorcerer's Master. That rule is just whenever you're casting a spell with like a unit of Rubric Marines, it's the aspiring sorcerer that's the one that casts the spell. That's basically what that paragraph says. Now, Kabbalistic Rituals. These are nice. Every unit in your army that has the 1000 Sun keyword becomes a Cabal of Sorcerers. At the start of your Psychic phase, if your army is a Cabal of Sorcerers, wording, thank you. Generate Cabal points for your army for each model with the ability on the battlefield. Then, in your Cabal phase, you spend as many Cabal points as you have to use Kabbalistic Rituals from the list below. Any points that are left over at the end of the phase are wasted. So Magnus the Red gives you 4 points. Ahriman, an Exalted Sorcerer or a Demon Prince give you 3. Sorcerer or an Infernal Master give you 2. And Zangor Shaman, Scarab Occult Sorcerers and Aspiring Sorcerers give you 1. So my 500 point list that I have downstairs, I have an Exalted Sorcerer and a unit of Scarab Occult Terminators and a unit of Rubric Marines. So I would get 5 points for that. 3 for the Exalted, and then 1 each for the other 2 units. There's then a list of abilities. There's a list of 9 abilities. 9, natch. There's a list of 9 abilities that each cost a number of points. And some of these are insane! Sorry. I don't know if I said that out loud or not. They're very, very cool and very Thousand Suns, and you can really get the sense of a collection of psychers combining their power to just thwackoom the enemy. Very cool. So, 4 points. Imbued Manifestation. Add 6 to the range of a psychic power. Nice. Something's out of range. Yeah, we'll boost that for 4 Cabal points. Malevolent Charge. Another 4 Cabal points. If a power inflicts mortal wounds on an enemy unit, then spending these makes it do an extra D3. Kindred Sorcerers, 5 points. Add 1 to a psychic test. Warp Sight, 3 Cabal points. If a psychic power requires the psyker to have line of sight to an enemy unit, you can still cast it as long as another Thousand Sun has line of sight. It doesn't have to be the one casting it. Nice. They sort of bounce the etheric energy off the other one, and then they sort of boomerang it round the corner. I won't go through all of them. Pact from Beyond, 7 points. If you fail to manifest a psychic... Oh no, don't take your psychic test. It counts as being passed with the minimum warp charge value. So if you know your opponent's got no denials left, 7 Cabal points, that's passed. Then Kabbalistic Focus, 8 command points. The power or psychic action cannot be denied. Yeah, and there's a couple of others, but yeah, they are so nice. They are so nice. Right, now we're on to units. Okay, so what to go through? Well, the first thing that is immediately and painfully obvious is there are no demons in this codex, which makes me very sad. The demon summoning is gone. It's not unexpected because they did it with Death Guard. So if you want demons, you're going to have to take them in an allied detachment. Sad times. Sad times. But then again, they weren't really in the codex last time because they're here. You can have them, but if you take them, you lose all your rules. Okay. Then what? Grumble, grumble, grumble. So we have the Infernal Master, who's basically the I mentioned earlier. Yeah, he knows 1 psychic power, so he's a pretty weenie psyker, but he knows 2 Infernal Pacts and can do 1 a turn. So he's nice. He's a psychic power and an Infernal Pact a turn. He's also a Kabbalistic Ritual person, which is nice. Sorcerers and Exalted Sorcerers are now distinctly different. Before, they really weren't that different. Now, a Sorcerer is obviously cheaper. They're lower weapon skill and ballistic skill, lower wounds, lower attacks. They also have a rule called Thrall. For each Exalted Sorcerer in a detachment, you can take 1 Sorcerer without it taking up a slot. So if you're doing a detachment and you've got 3 Exalted Sorcerers, you could take 3 Sorcerers in addition without it taking any more any HQ slots. So in a patrol, you can have 4 of them. You can have 2 Exalted and 2 Sorcerers. Yowzers. That kind of, it works though. It works with the we don't have many foot soldiers kind of thing. Our power is in our psychers. Which I guess leans more heavily towards some of the cults than others. The Exalted Sorcerer gives a reroll aura to friendly core units. And they are better weapon skill, better ballistic skill, more attacks, more wounds. So they are demonstrably better than sorcerers, which I like. There didn't seem to be much difference between them at all previously. But the sorcerers have the Inferno Bolts. I'm pretty sure they did in the last codex, but yeah, they get those now, which is nice. Sorcerer Terminator. Here is an interesting thing, right? This leapt out at me. This is the first time in donkey's years where there's a picture on this page, on page 76. There's a picture of a really cool looking Sorcerer and Terminator armor, and then a little thing about saying this is a conversion, and basically saying it's been kit bashed from the Chaos Space Marine Terminator plastic kit with then bits from the Scarab Occult, and saying, yeah, doesn't it look cool? And it does look cool, but I can't recall them calling out. I mean, they obviously want to do a Sorcerer and Terminator armor, but they don't want to do a new model, so they've kit bashed it and used that picture and gone, yeah, look at this, it exists. But I think it's a bit of a departure. I know in the second Ed Chaos Codex there was a picture that said this model is a conversion. I haven't seen them do that for a very, very long time. Cultists, they've pretty much not changed. Zangors, they seem to be the same as they were before. They're sort of cultists, but higher strength, higher toughness, and invulnerable save. But they can take a Brayhorn and a Herd banner. So basically, you can use it's an AOS kit, so you can use the bits from the AOS kit. What's that do? Brayhorn, add 1 to advance and charge rolls. Nice. Herd banner, each time a morale test is taken, you can re-roll the result. That's nice. That's nice. Rubric Marines. Okay. So, 2 wounds, 2 attacks. I can't see any reference in here whatsoever to Shock Assault. I don't know if that was in the previous... No, it was. It was in the previous Codex. I checked. Except it was called Hateful... whatever. So Shock Assault's gone. But 2 attacks is a base. As has Death of the False Emperor. I checked this in the app earlier. Yeah, that was there before. It's not now. So that is a dying mechanic. I don't think we will see that again. All this dust is still there. So if you're firing at... oh, hang on. Yes, if you're firing a damage 1 weapon at a Rubric Marine, they get +1 saves. They've got 2 up saves against damage 1 weapons. Thank you so much. Arcane Automata. Each time a morale test is taken for this unit, it is automatically passed. Psh, boom, bingo. They don't run off because they are soulless. They're just essence in a jar. I mean, very fighty essence in a very tough jar, but they're just essence in a jar. Anything I'm missing? Soul Reaper Cannon, Heavy 5, Strength 6, -3. I think that's better than it was. I'm not sure, though. Inferno Bolt Gun, 2 foot, Rapid Fire 1, Strength 4, -2. Yeah, that's as it was. I think that Soul Reaper Cannon's better. But Heavy 5, so if you're firing at a unit of 10 or more and you want to spend a command point on that stratagem, you get 10 shots with a Soul Reaper Cannon. At -3. Fire that at a unit of Tactical Marines. Ouch. Now, I cannot find anything in here that says that Smite is a 1 wound thing for Rubric Marines. If I'm missing it, it's a big miss and it's hidden like somewhere behind the sofa, but I can't see anything on here that says that, so I think that's gone. You've just got it. And I guess the restriction there is the scaling in the match play rules. Oh, it's a basic rule now, isn't it? I get confused because I don't use that. But yeah, the scaling is the restriction rather than the only 1 point. I imagine it's similar in the Grey Knights Codex, but this is a Thousand Suns review. Hellbrute, very simple. It did it again. I think it goes off after half an hour. It's been over an hour. Oh. Ramble. I said it would be rambling. I said it would be rambling. The Brute is pretty similar to the Death Guard Codex. It takes +1 damage in a fight. It rerolls wound rolls of 1 if it's got less than 7 wounds. Power Scourge has been nerfed, so it's only strength 7. I assume the Plasma Cannon's better. Yeah, the Plasma Cannon is 3 damage. Yeah. Scarab Occult Terminators. Interesting, there's a thing in here that says Terminator Armour. Every model in this unit has a 5+ invulnerable save. But they would have done anyway because they're Thousand Suns. In fact, for me, this should say it has 4+ save because they have Terminator Armour and they are Thousand Suns. I don't like the fact that they've got the same... Yeah, there's no additional protective benefit from being in a suit of Terminator Armour. Anyway, but yeah, these guys can teleport. They have Aura's Dust as well. Arcane Automata as well. 1 psychic power, cast 1 psychic power. Hellfire Missile Racks look like they were before. Soul Reaper Cannon's the same. Prospering Koptesh. It's a 2 damage power sword now. That's nice. 3 attacks base, 3 wounds base. Nice, yeah. What else we got? Chaos Spawn don't look like they've changed much at all from the previous Chaos Marine Codex. I guess I don't know what it was in the previous Thousand Suns Codex off the top of my head, except for the fact that they're not D6 attacks each, they're 2D3 attacks each. So you're less likely to get the maximum number, but more likely to get a sort of middling number. And of course, there's no Shock Assault now, so yeah, that's why. Rhinos have Inferno Combi Bolters by default, and any upgraded combis you get are Inferno. Good, 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 good. The notion that they don't put the magic bullets in the gun on the Rhino, just no. Mutalith Vortex Beast. These have changed a little bit. They have 4 available powers. They regain D3 mortal wounds a turn. That's nice. They got 4 powers, and you can pick one in each shooting phase. And you can pick one that hasn't been used by a friendly model during the same turn. So you can't get 3 of these and then do the same thing 3 times. Now, they used to be a variation of powers. I think you used to have to roll. Maybe you didn't have to roll. Maybe it was you got 2 if you rolled. I think that was it from watching Stylists play. It's a while since I've seen one of these used. And then you got the random effects. And some of them were like buffing or debuffing or whatever. They don't seem to do that now. All these ones appear to be different variations of mortal wound output. Roll for any enemy unit within 9 inches. Select one enemy unit within 18 inches. Select the closest enemy unit within 18 inches. So they're different variations of mortal wound output. Vindicator, that's still there. It's been brought in line with the Imperial version and has got a siege shield to give it 2-up save. Land Raider looks pretty standard. Defiler, yep. Forge Fiend hasn't changed much from what I can see. Mauler Fiend looks a little bit different. I don't know if this has been, if I've missed this in a previous codex. Lasher Tendrils are 1 damage each now. I think they used to be 2 damage, so they're 1 each. The Siege Crawler rule, so there's no modifiers to its charge roll. So if you're charging over difficult ground, no -2, which is nice. Mauler Fists are D3 plus 3 damage, so they are really going to punch. And Magma Cutters, they've now got the updated Melter rules, as you might expect. Predators are Predators. Heldrakes are quite a bit different, which I think will bring them in, I suspect, is going to, which gives us a view as to what the Chaos Marine Heldrake will be like when it's brought in line. It's the first time we're seeing a change to a Heldrake. Baleflamer is now, well, first of all, they were flyers before, but they can only, they're aircraft. They can only charge other aircraft. They can't charge anything on the battlefield, on the ground floor. They can fight against non-aircraft. So if you attack them with assault marines, they can fight against things that can fly, but they can only charge aircraft. Now, against aircraft, the damage of their Heldrake claws goes up to 4. So, I mean, these things hate sharing the sky. That's their thing. They really hate sharing the sky because they have 5 attacks. Strength 7, -2 damage, -2 AP, 4 damage against aircraft. Ouch. These things will pull aircraft out of the sky. It gets +1 to hit against anything that can fly. It can hover if you want it to. It loses the airborne predator and hard to hit. Okay. So you can put it into hover mode, and if you put it in hover mode, then it can attack ground units. That's better. That's better. Sorry, missed that. Hunter in the Skies. Yeah, nice. The Baleflame is now 2 damage. I think it was just 1 damage before. Then we have Magnus the Red. He's 23 power now. 8 attacks. Never suffers the perils of the warp. Well, that's good. 4 up invulnerable save. Yeah. Each time it manifests smite, it inflicts d6 mortal wounds, or 3d3 if the result was 11 or more. Reroll psychic tests for him. Lord of the Planet the Sorcerers. Pick a unit within 6 inches of you at the start of the turn and they get to reroll hits. Demon Primarch, he must be your warlord. And then Primarch of the Thousand Suns, any friendly Thousand Suns core unit within 6 inches rerolls 1s to hit. So, okay, so anything within 6 inches rerolls 1s to hit, but you can make one unit reroll all hits. I can't see anything in here about him not taking more than a certain amount of damage each turn. So I expect him to be shot to death pretty quickly. Movement 16, he can shift. 8 attacks with the Blade of Magnus, which will be strength 16, -4, 3 damage. If you lose any wounds but don't die, you take another d3 mortal wounds. Can manifest 3 psychic powers. It says on here it knows 3 psychic powers, but it also says he's got the Warlord trait that makes him know all the psychic powers. Then we've got weapon profiles, reference, and a pretty picture on the back page. That's a very pretty picture. And that is me not having thought ahead about how to finish this video. So, if you enjoyed that, no, wrong words. So, as you're watching this, there will be a battle report using Thousand Suns that goes up in for channel members on the same day. So if you're watching this, it's available now if you're a channel member. If you want to become a channel member and watch that and many other battle reports, check out the link below for link in the description for channel memberships. Just a slight disclaimer though, it is a small battle report. I have a small force of 1,000 Suns. It's 500 points of 1,000 Suns plus some demons against 1,000 points of something else. It's one of the War of the 10 Legions series where the 1,000 Suns have attempted to lure a warband of Night Lords that are pursuing them into a trap, but Tzeentch is fickle and the trap has backfired. So yeah, so that is there for anyone who wants to see that. That should be good. It's good fun. I haven't filmed it yet. I'm going to go and film it probably tomorrow. So I'm hoping to see as many of these new stratagems and stuff as possible. Don't know how much we'll see because it's only 3 units, but you know, it's still good fun. It's still good fun. I was filming it anyway, so you know, it was. It's a happy coincidence. Other than that, if you want to support me, again, check out channel memberships below. That's one way to do it. Liking, subscribing is another great way of doing that. If you shop at Element Games and you don't already have a code or an affiliate link you use elsewhere, if you want double crystals, check out the affiliate link below and the sales code to get double crystals, which is like store credit. There's also the usual super thanks, which is new to YouTube, and there's Patreon and all that good stuff. Anyway, I'm rambling about things that no longer need to be rambled about. Hope you enjoyed that, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye for now.